'cause I love this land. It takes my breath away.
I'm so excited. We're here at season 2, and we are introducing our music series today with
Gary P. Nunn, and we're doing it at the Will in Waco, where there's a way at the Will to do all sorts of things. And today it's to talk to Gary P. Nunn, one of Texas's greatest musical artists.
We are at the Will in Waco, Texas, and we are kicking off our music series for this season. And we could not be more excited than to kick it off with Gary P. Nunn. I mean, I don't know if he wants to be called a legend, but Gary, you're a legend. So we are so excited to have you here today.
Thank you. I guess you live long enough, you become a legend.
Well,
No, you've done enough. Yeah, you've definitely done enough.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
All right. So, as Melissa said, we're having a music series this year. We're at the Will in Waco, and it is, first of all, what do you think of the Will?
Well, I think somebody's rich uncle died and left them a ton of money because it's just a first-class, beautiful facility here. We're just delighted to be here.
We're really, really excited to have you here. Waco is excited to have you here. It's an outdoor facility. We're in their cigar room, which is where we're filming this, and you can have food, you can have drinks. It's sort of, there's an outdoor music venue. It's very casual, very hip. And is there anything better than outdoor music?
I mean, Waco is hip now, so that's pretty cool
Yeah,
right there.
If you live long enough, you see Waco.
It should be the tourist destination
Yes.
for entertainment here in the Waco area.
Well, I will tell you, with music, one of my favorite things is to go to a concert in a more intimate setting. I mean, it's great to be, see in a big arena or whatever, but there's nothing better than to get to be close to the musician. And I think this is the closest I've ever been to a really great musician. So I'm just really excited.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, from our point of view, too, it feels a lot better to be close to the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
It's because you can make eye contact and, watch the pretty girls dance by, and that's
Right.
always inspiring.
Well, you've been doing this a long time. And my first question for you is, you were born in Oklahoma, spent about 10 years there, is that right?
Say again?
About 10 years before you moved to Brownfield?
Well, I was just 3 months shy of being 12 years old
Okay.
when we
Right.
moved, and that's 6th grade
Right.
Right.
when we started.
And then you spent a lot of time in Brownfield, right? And what I want to know is, why is West Texas the breeding ground for so many great musicians? I mean, the list. We went to the Buddy Holly Center there, and they have a map, and they have the little markers of this guy's from here, this woman's from here, and it just goes on and on. So what is it about West Texas that breeds people like that?
Well, I've been asked that question a lot. I don't have a definitive answer. But I can only guess, that it's just flat land, the great South Plains, old Comanche, Buffalo country.
Right.
And it's, but I think one thing that you remember Wolfman Jack?
Of
Sure,
course.
of course.
Yes.
Well, Wolfman Jack, he broadcasts every night. We could get him from Mexico.
Right.
Right. Right.
And so it kind of became a cult kind of thing. It introduces, of course, in Lubbock, you could hear Buddy Holly songs and Roy Orbison tunes,
Right.
who's my favorite one, and and what's a Party Doll and those songs from that era. But when you get out at night, you dialed in XERF, I guess it was. Hat muscle, baby. Wolfman Jack was out there, and he was playing all the kind of R&B stuff, and of course he had such a jive rap that he had as well. So we would get in the car in the dark and drive around and maybe drink a little beer out those cotton fields out in West Texas.
Well, there wasn't a lot else to do.
But
so.
I think that was something that kind of inspired us. And I don't know, me and my friends, we were interested in guitars,
Right.
Like when I started, the Ventures were the big thing, Walk, Don't Run,
Right.
and all
Turf
those,
music.
and all
Right.
those tunes. Well, it was instrumental, it wasn't any vocals.
Right.
Right.
So we just got guitars and started playing those songs. And then by the time we learned how to tune a guitar, Chuck Berry came along. Then we started doing Chuck Berry songs and then adding vocals to it. But I can't answer your question, it's just...
It is remarkable.
So many
though.
people say there's nothing to do out there. So,
Well,
but I
we
think
drove through Levelland and we've been all that area, and it was just remarkable to us to see how many great musicians have come from that area.
right.
Well, one of the things that I love, Steve and I both read your book, Home with the Armadillo, and like we said, it was just like, I felt like I was sitting next to you talking. It was really great. I loved reading about your parents. I'm an educator. I'm a longtime educator, still at it. And it was great just to hear your story. So many times when you see young musicians, a lot of they're rebels or they're rebellious, and you weren't. I mean, it didn't come off that way. You were a good kid. You were smart. You were president of the student body in 8th grade. I was too, something we had in common. You were in band. You had a paper out.
Played ball.
Yeah.
I mean, you did all the things.
Yeah.
And it seems like your parents were just really wonderful, humble people that encouraged you to work hard. And also, what I loved about your story is they let you pursue your passion.
Right.
So I thought that was really great. Tell us a little bit about growing up in that family and how that inspired you to...
Well, I described what it was like in Oklahoma. As a population was very sparse, and the economy was, hand to mouth for the most part. And so when I got to Brownfield, it just a whole world opened up for me. Like first thing I did is get a bicycle because they had paved roads, and my dad said, "Yeah, you get a bicycle, get a paper route, you get a motor scooter," and then so I was excited about getting to play team sports, and so I'd already had 5 years of basketball experience by the time I got to 6th grade, because up there in Oklahoma they start you out in the 1st grade. So I got to play on the 7th grade team as a 6th grader, and I was a new kid, and only been there about 3 months, and so I got to play with all the most popular and the best athletes in the 7th grade. So it allowed me to gain recognition, because my buddies were the hotties in the 7th grade. So
there's nothing like
it helped to raise my profile. I would say that.
Right, yeah.
And so that was a great experience. And then started playing football, and that was new. We never seen a football before I got to Brownfield, Texas.
Well, football is king.
Football is king here, and Gary isn't given the full story. He was a 3-sport athlete at Brownfield High, and was the starting starting tailback at like 140 pounds.
Right.
And the basketball, obviously, and then you had a really good baseball team your senior year. Didn't
We did.
you?
We went to the state finals our senior year.
I was so sad when
Got
you
to
wrote
the
that you
final.
lost.
Right.
Yeah.
I was cheering
Well,
for you, even now.
This little team from South San Antonio just beat us up, and their coach was Gus Gustafson, who was coach for University of Texas for years. So they just beat us handily. We only had one pitcher,
Right.
Mario Garcia.
Right,
He'd
but
throw
if
a
I
curveball
remember
right
right, you batted over 500 in that tournament.
the season actually.
Holy cow!
About 526 was my batting average.
So did you ever think I know the Cardinals were your dream team, but did you ever think of pursuing athletics as a career? Or or?
Well, quite honestly, I was well, my head was into the music even then.
Right.
And, I'd been playing ball since I was in the first grade, and, 12 years, 3 sports a year, all the way through. I was a little bit, and summer ball too, And so I was a little worn out with it. So
Well, let me ask you this, because so you had the team sports thing, and then your music career.
Right.
You are so versatile, and you did just everything you could do in the music industry, and played all sorts of instruments and bands and did different things for different people before you were Gary P. Nunn. Do you think that came from sports, or, I mean, the versatility and sort of the teamwork?
I think so. To me, to do something by yourself is not near much fun to do it with a group, So team sports, it's just like, a group, but we're all doing this together type of thing really appealed to me. And, I tried to, be a good teammate and be a leader without being, like bossy.
Right.
Well, I think that's one of the things that hit me with the book when you were with the Sparkles. And, you talked about how sometimes you didn't always agree, but you always kind of took one for the team and didn't argue. And so maybe even held yourself back a little bit to support the others in the band. And that was impressive to me.
Well, I didn't know. I didn't know whatever metaphor you want to use. Beans from.
So we're not a network. You can say whatever you want.
I just didn't know. It was all brand new to me, and I wasn't certain about anything. I just finally got around this latest record that I have. It's called "To Texas with Love," but I only wrote one song on it, but I published all of them. And the line goes, one thing I know for certain is I don't know everything.
More of us should be able to
say
that.
That is great wisdom.
That's awesome.
That is great wisdom.
The other thing that really strikes me is as you started playing, you started in the band, you wanted to play the trumpet, and I don't think your lips are too big for the trumpet.
I don't know either.
That band director was wrong. They were just wrong.
They just need a baritone horn player.
I'm so sorry that happened for you, but then you started playing the guitar, and then you picked up the keyboards. The story where you just picked up the drums, you didn't really have much experience. I started taking piano lessons when I think I was 6 years old. And I just was always that person that stuck to the music, grew up in a Southern Baptist church. They tried to teach me to improvise, just can't do it. But when I read about musicians like you, it just seems like you pick it up and you play. Tell us about how you started and your garage bands and then going on and you were what, 14, 15 when you got picked up in the bands?
Yeah, well, even before that, my sister she studied piano for all the way through high school and junior high. So she was an accomplished reader. So we always had a piano in the house. And I remember my earliest thing was, it's like Glenn Miller Band, In the Mood. And so I went in and I started playing it by ear, And that was my first, even before, we got guitars and started playing guitar.
So did you take formal music lessons or?
I did when we were in Oklahoma, when I was about 8 and 9, for about a year and a half I did. But I learned to read music. I learned to read again. But I did learn. So, when I got the band, I could read the treble clef. And so it came pretty easy to me.
Yeah.
So we're going to fast forward a little bit. You started at Tech, right? That was
right.
Right. Okay. And then you made your way to South Plains and then to Austin, to the University of Texas.
Right.
And I highly encourage you to read the book, right? So people need to go to GaryPNunn.com. You can get it off the website there. You can also get the new CD, To Texas with Love, and all of his catalog there too. But you got to Texas, and you're a pharmacy major at the University of Texas. Tough school, really tough major, and you're playing all over. I mean, how did how did you accomplish that? Because
And you said you made A's. I might want to see the transcript.
I was still pretty disciplined, you know, from because you know, like my folks raised me. You know, if I didn't make an A, you know, something was wrong.
Right.
In school, and so they helped me. You know, my mother would help me prepare for quizzes, and you know, it was like, get your homework, 10 o'clock, in bed, go to sleep, you know, get up, throw your paper out in the morning. It was just like a routine. So I was really disciplined about doing my homework and preparing. You know, I was used to making A's. You know, to me, anything else would have been, you know, a real disappointment. You know, and worried me. I didn't make straight A's in college. But, I made one F. I didn't show up the first day of a trig class at Tech. And that was on a Friday. And time I got there on Monday, I was so far behind, I couldn't catch up. So I dropped the class. Too late, I got an F. But I went back the next semester and made an A.
All right.
There you go.
Okay. Well, so you got in the music scene in Austin, right? I would think you would say right at the right time. I mean, the transformation that occurred while you were there in Austin.
Well, we had a few years to prepare there. You know, when I got there in '67, the big band in town was the Lavender Hill Express, and but I looked around, and that was Rusty Weir, Leighton DePenning, and Leonard Arnold, and all those great guys. I looked around and I found a band, and the reason I liked them because the drummer, I really liked the way, I'm a drummer fanatic, and I don't always get it like I want it. But this drummer he was just rock solid, you know, he's just, and I said, I want to play this band because of that drummer. Well, his name is Rick Cobb, and he eventually became a rock star for, what was that band? Blood Rock.
Okay.
Remember then they were out with that other three-piece band, but I mean he made a fortune. But the reason I liked them was because he was a good. So I played with them for a while, and then I went to school there 2 semesters in a summer. Took microbiology in the summer, and I got the Sparkles had moved to L.A. And Bobby Smith was supposed Gary P said, man, we're out here, we're doing the Smothers Brothers, we're doing Judd for the Defense, and we're playing all these fancy clubs. You know, we want you to come out here and join us. And, you know, I'd had enough school, too, so I knew it wouldn't last long. But I went for a semester, and we traveled all the L.A. area. We'd do, book 6 nights a week type of things.
Wow.
And,
so when you're doing that, are you thinking, okay, I'm going to be a star, or I'm going to be in a huge band, or what's your game plan at that point?
No, I'm just saying I'm going to have fun as long as I can until I have to go to work.
Okay.
You know?
Really?
Yeah, I never did consider the option of making a career in the music business.
Why not?
Well, I just didn't have enough knowledge about, because as time moved on and later on, when Michael Murphey came to town, you know, he knew a lot about the business, and he shared a lot of really basic information, but very, very valuable information with me about how the business works, songwriting and publishing and all that. So he inspired me to get into that aspect of it.
So tell us a little bit about that. Was a crucial turn, it seemed, in the book for your life, because you were about to.
I was out of there. Yeah.
And in a night, you changed your mind and said, "No, I'm going to keep playing."
Well, I planned to leave because I've been through several bands there, and they all just kind of ended up in heartache and disappointment, and going nowhere fast type of deal. And so I'd heard about Michael Murphey through some of the musicians in town, and I'd never have seen him, so I stayed in town probably an extra week. I was going to leave before Christmas, but he was coming the first week in January of 1972. So I stayed over to see his show. So I went to see his show, and, it was just, Michael Murphey, then like he is now. He's great. He's intelligent. He's totally creative. He can write 10 songs a day if he wants to. But I was so impressed with him. And he took a break and he walked off stage and walked straight to me, and he said, "Hey, yeah, I've heard a lot about you, man. How would you like to play bass in my band?" And I said, I had my pickup packed up and I was ready to go. And I think, this guy's got a record deal. Mm-hmm. He's light years ahead of anything that I've ever had an opportunity to be. So I thought it'd be good if I joined his band. And so he taught me a lot.
Yeah.
He taught me the basics, what I know about the music business.
Well, that was a great turn of events.
Right. That was a you were at the right place at the right time kind of night.
Right.
So, but it just, the fraternity, if you will, of musicians, the fact that he knew about you was just remarkable. I mean, how did he hear about you?
Well, I
Did he
think
play, or?
Craig Hillis was another guitar player in town. He played with a rock band, but he was one of the first ones to go start sitting in with, Stephen Fromholtz, for one. It's the first one I recall. He was a rocker. He could play Led Zeppelin stuff and really, really go, And so he'd go sit on a stool and play along with acoustic music. That was something new and different. So he was kind of immersing himself into that folky singer-songwriting scene that was going on in town at a place called the Checkered Flag, which was Rod Kennedy's, Alan Dameron's place. Rod Kennedy started the Kerrville Folk Festival.
Right.
So he was very instrumental on the folky side of developing songwriters. And then on our side, were bands coming in and joining up with the songwriters. So, but Craig had a previous experience with Michael Murphey. And it just occurred to me a couple of days ago that, because I was reading something about Craig's history with Michael before I met Michael. And it occurred to me that probably Craig mentioned to him that, that I was a good bass player and
word of mouth is always the best advertisement.
Yeah. How
right?
old were you?
Let's see, that was in 1972, so 45 and 72, what's that, 27?
27.
Yeah.
So, and so from there, you were with him for a while, and then most Texans know you were with the Lost Gonzo Band with Jerry Jeff, and one of the iconic albums in Texas history, Viva Terlingua, and the highlight of that album is London Homesick Blues, and so or do most people just call it the Armadillo song? I don't know.
They do.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So, is it? You said this in the book. I find it hard to believe that was the first live performance of London Homesick Blues. Mm-hmm. That is just amazing. Wow. So tell us what happened at the Viva Terlingua sessions there.
Well, the background, we've been there. We went there on a Monday, and we started kind of just setting up in the old dance hall. And I'd noticed that there's some hay bales out there. And when we got there, I said, this place is going to rattle and ring, and we need to baffle some things, especially the drum kit. And so I got my pickup, went out and loaded up a load of hay, and we covered up the
high tech.
We covered up the drum kit on stage, and it took up most of what the stage is. If you've been to Luckenbach,
sure.
It's not that big. And then we made a circle or a square of hay bales surrounding, and we'd set the amps facing the hay bales on the backside and drop a mic just between the amps and the hay bale. So, like what was coming, there was no reverberation from what was coming off the amps or much from coming off the drums. So the result was a nice live feeling to it. And I think that's what most people comment about it. It's just that record just feels like it's so real.
Yes.
And it was. And I think in this world that we live in, where very little of what we get through the media is real,
Right.
that has just this. I think the inner soul of people, they just perceive that and take it in. and cherish it because, man, this is really real and it's fun. It sounds good, and I like these crazy songs.
I think you can listen to it over and over.
It is an album that has stood up over time.
You know, we got lucky. There was this magic. Of course, Lukenbach is a magic place, and Hondo Crouch was a magic man who created the atmosphere and the magic, and so we fell right into it. And of course, we were following Jerry Jeff. We didn't know what he was going to do. We didn't know him that well. We
know what he was going to do?
Had this wild and crazy reputation. You know, we told him, so you can't drink whiskey. You can only drink beer. So he did 24 hours a day. But he was just, you know, on the edge, and what you call the total artist type of temperament. You know, he on the edge, always looking for, you know, what's next, you know, and looking and listening. And that's why he picked up a lot of songs from songwriters like Guy Clark and, you know, like me and Ray Wiley Hubbard and several other songwriters. And that's where I learned about, you know, finding a song that suits you, that somebody else wrote. Like, you don't have to write everything. So I've done a lot of things. I just cut the stuff I like, and some of it I've been able to copyright and publish it as well, and help songwriters, you know, get a start.
Well, but you wrote London Homesick Blues.
Yes.
And so our non-music industry sort of understanding back then was, well, this guy wrote London Homesick Blues. It was the theme song for ACL, and you hear it all of the time. Any bar you go to, I mean, it's in Texas particularly. So you must be absurdly wealthy in the when your 20s and 30s, because you were getting so much money off London Homesick Blues.
Well, not really.
Tell us the real story.
Right.
The real story was Jerry Jeff published that song on his publishing company, but he said, I'll take 10% and give you 90%. But it was just a verbal deal. And there wasn't any papers signed or anything. So that the record took off, and it sold, I think, 500,000 the first year. But Jerry Jeff never did offer to pay me a royalty. So, you know, I had to kind of, Jerry Jeff, you know, and he was hard to approach about business stuff. You know, he could,
don't mess with the creative genius.
I told him, I said, I need to talk to you about some royalties for this song. And he called me back later that afternoon. He said, Gary Pete, I found you money, you know. He said, I'll tell you what, he said, I'm gonna, he gave me, I think there was about $10,000 or $15,000 to earn. And he said, I'll give you back, you know, he said, I'll give you like $6,000 or $8,000 and give you back to publishing.
So we'll
Which was so basically, you know, the first year, for 6 months or 9 months, the bulk of the money is earned in that period.
Right, when it first comes out, sure.
So you know, he probably took the bulk of it and gave me just enough to offer me, but I got the publishing back. So on the publishing, but the ACL thing, you know, public television rates are like 0.0000 per airing. You had 90,000 airings, you know, at $3.25, you know, $3.25. You know, it was negligible. So that part of it, you know, a lot of people took note of the fact that that song was on there. But as far as it being financially rewarding, it wasn't at all.
So, but let's think about the song. Whenever you perform, of course, we all want to hear that. How do you feel about playing it over and over? Do you love it? Or is it kind of that song that never ends?
I love it.
Oh man! Well,
yeah, of course. You know, have that kind of response every night.
Right.
You know, it just makes you feel good. So.
Well, and so as I understood it, when you played it for the album, they didn't catch it the first time, and that it was actually the second performance for the group that is on the album. Is that right?
Right. I don't know what happened, but Michael Brofsky, who was our manager and producer, he was in the truck while it was being recorded in there, and as soon as I finished, the crowd was still going nuts, and he ran over to me on the piano. I was sitting over on the side on this little, it was Bob's little spinet piano that we had. He said, Gary P., you got to do it again. You got to do it again. He said, we weren't ready for you. Now, I don't know if they ran out of tape later on, but you got to do it again. And so I did it again, and that's when I said, let me see if I can put myself back in that place again, which is how I started, which meant I got to go back to the beginning of the song.
Right.
Right.
And see, I always thought that meant I'm trying to get back to my head in London.
It works both ways.
Right.
Doesn't it? Yeah. So it's one of those little epiphanies.
Right.
But so I did it again, and that was the cut that ended up on the record. Now they took the chorus and the tail end and the audience response from the end of the first time, and tagged it on to the backside.
Miracles.
So it was.
Well, I loved reading how you also toured in Europe. And it's funny, we actually lived in Germany for 3.5 years. Steve was in the Air Force. And I taught at Spangdahlem. And you have a story about being at Spangdahlem in Bitburg. And I cackled. But I really laughed because we were in Switzerland and we saw Boxcar Willie. And I mean, we're Texans, but we're like, what? What? Why? And so the fact that you were over there too, I just kind of had to chuckle. So
you saw Boxcar Willie at the Hirschen Hotel in the old Hirschen Plow.
Right.
That's where I met my wife.
Right.
Okay.
She worked there, and that's where I played when I went over there.
I want to meet Ruth.
Right.
She's a character, man. She's a tough one.
Right. Well, it sounded like that was it was hard work, your European tours, but it was well worth it because Ruth came back.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. You know, they say the blind hog finds an acorn now and then. I just kind of went with the flow. You know. I don't know. I told the story. It's toward the end of the book.
Yes.
Yeah.
I said, we were up one night and they wait on you there in the club, feed you, and if you want to drink, they best beer and wine in the world,
Right.
And they wait on you till you go to bed upstairs. So we did that almost every night, and later on, I was feeling pretty good, and we were winding down that tour, and because he played 28 nights in a row.
Wow.
That's
exhausting.
Four 50-minute shows. So I was feeling no pain, and so I'd stand up and so I'd clink my glass and say, "Hey, I want to invite y'all," because their whole staff would stay up with us. Invite you all to come to Texas, and we'll ride cowboy horses and sleep in Indian teepees. And so Ruth, she had always been real, look at me askance, take a cowboy, musician, no good. So she walks up to me and she said, "Hey, I need an American passport. Why don't you marry me and take me back to Texas?" And I said, "Best offer I've had all day. Let's keep going. I need a wife." She said, "Oh, you be serious?" I said, "Yeah." You see, "Can I have my cats?" "Sure, you can have your cats." "Do you work hard?" "Well, sort of, kind of." "Do you make a lot of money?" I said, Swiss, that's the one thing. Hard work and money.
Right.
As principal things. So I said, "Well, what I'll make, I'll bring home to you." She said, "Oh, well." And all her friends are around. And she said, "Well, all right." I said, "Step up on that table and turn around and let me have a look at you."
I do want to meet Ruth.
I really want. I mean, I really enjoy meeting you, but I really want to meet Ruth.
She's a great one. She can do anything. She can do anything. You know, over in Switzerland, their educational system is different from ours.
Right.
They, what we call high school over there is only like through 10th grade.
Right.
Here. And then kids either go to professional schools or they go to trade schools. So they study, and most of them go to trade schools. By the time they're 18 years old, they're qualified to go out and do technical jobs in industry.
Right. Whatever.
And, you know, work on giant turbines, you know, in dams in Brazil. Was one guy I know who did that. You know, by the time he got out, he's 18 years old. He went to work in Brazil being a technician on turbines and things. So she studied, her father's an architect, and she kind of leaned toward that. And so she went to a school that, so architectural drawing and art and construction and, you know, everything from pouring cement to electricity. Everything had to do with building skills and decorating. And so she got steeped in that, and she was very, so, you know, she could just, she'd do anything. You know, before I get out of bed, you know, she's laying rock, created a rock wall out along the house. You know, and say, can you help me? This rock's too heavy for me. You know, I say, oh, yeah, well, why do you wake me up? Well, you know.
Well, when you were in Oklahoma, she helped you put together the Terlingua North Chili Fest.
Chili cook-off.
Yeah, right.
Music festival.
Right, and you've had some great, and that's one thing I got from the book was you have a great eye or ear for hearing who's coming, right?
Well, I think that's one of my, you know, my best talents is recognizing talent. And so I've always tried to nurture the ones that I thought had potential. Just about everyone that I ever paid attention to has become successful.
Right. Well, and one of the ones you mentioned was Pat Green, right here out of Waco. So we appreciate that.
Pat went to the school that I'm the head of school at. So yeah,
right.
I have not met him yet, but I need to.
I did a show with him just the other night. I haven't seen him in a while. But yeah, Pat, you know, he showed a lot of potential right out of the bat. It must be because of his performance. You know, he was a live wire on stage, you know. So I said, man, you know, this kid. So, but we had him, you know, what we did when we were selecting acts for the Terlingua North, you know, we tried to find, you know, young, upcoming, you know, that didn't cost a fort. They were going to charge you an arm and a leg first rattle out of the box. Now, right after they played for us, they did. They were going to arm and a leg.
Well, you know, you get some backside on that, right? Once they throw in you.
Only if it were true. You know? I said, at least you guys were headlining these big shows. You could get Gary P. Nunn to open for you. Little payback.
I don't know about that.
They've all done well, and they've let me know that they appreciate it. Like the other night on stage, you know, Pat told he finished the show and I opened it, and he said the audience, "Hey, Gary P. Nunn, give him a big round of applause." He said, you know, he said, "I want to be like Gary P. Nunn when I grow up."
Well, I know we're way over time here,
right.
So and we so much appreciate it.
I do have one more very important question.
One very important question.
I have to know, Gary, what does P stand for?
Well, patience and perseverance.
So it is just, there's no name with P, it's just an initial?
No, actually, Philip.
All right.
Okay, all right.
I like Gary P. Nunn.
Right.
And
show me what that P stand for.
Patience, perseverance.
There's a song.
Right.
There's a song there I think you should write.
Right. So you've had a long road. And there's so much. I think you've got 21 solo efforts.
I think this lace is the 20th.
Okay, all right.
And that was a goal I had to try to get 20 before.
And I look at least 5 of them have Texas in the title,
Right.
and there's so many songs about Texas. You are a what I would say a drive time, you know, windshield time. Listen, you can as we drive around Texas, there's a good chance there's a Gary P. Nunn song, and it's about where we are in
Right,
Texas. And so we so much appreciate you. You are a Texas national treasure. And actually, you are an ambassador for Texas, aren't you?
I am.
Yeah, right.
Official ambassador.
Official
you
ambassador.
go.
That probably comes with a big salary too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, we so appreciate your time today. And I want to encourage people again, go to the website, GaryPNunn.com, and get yourself at Home with the Armadillos.
Yes.
It is a great read. It's like Gary's in your living room telling you the
Yes,
stories.
I mean, we literally read it. Well, he
Yeah.
reads faster than I did. I read it in 2 days.
Yes,
so
and
I really
It's a good
enjoyed
read,
it.
isn't it? Yeah.
It was fun.
Right.
It's more fun talking to you.
Right.
And you know what? All of you Texans out there, we encourage you to get out there and travel. We encourage you to download Gary P. Nunn. We encourage you to come to Waco and come to the Will, because whether you want to relax, you want to listen to great music, and there's nothing better than an intimate music venue. You can dance a little, you can see the performers, you can feel like they're your
Great
friends.
food, great drinks.
So, what do we say here at the Will, Steve?
Where, if you want to do any of that, there's a way at the Will.
So, join us and continue to join us on Texas 10, and we look forward to having more music episodes. We'll be out on the road and introduce all 254 counties to you, and we just encourage you to get to know Texas, because there's nothing better than Texas.
Right. And do it with a Gary P. Nunn song on the radio.
Yes.
And where there's a will, there's a way.
Thinking about you, and I love this land. Oh, it takes my breath away. From the Palo Duro to the Gulf Coast plain, from the heart of the hill country to the piney wood shade. I love this land. It takes my breath away.